So this fight is for me personally, and that's why I participate. At any rate, I was honored with an Everyday Hero Award in year 2. This is year 4, and on From Ohamo TV, I'm going to bring it all to you in this episode, so stay tuned. Now, more of the scene behind me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Desert AIDS Project's 4th annual Everyday Heroes Awards. Our show is about to
And I have a
begin.
front row seat for you, so enjoy.
Please welcome Desert AIDS Project's Chief Executive Officer, David Brinkman.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Everyday Heroes Awards. This is how we mark World AIDS Day at Desert AIDS Project. We do it by shining a spotlight on people who are doing extraordinary humanitarian work right here in our community. Through celebrating these deserving volunteers, may we all find the inspiration needed to address the challenges facing humanity and our planet by coming together and making a difference right here in this valley. Today, we commemorate World AIDS Day. We remember all those that we've lost. And we stand in solidarity with the nearly 40 million people around the globe living with HIV. On this day, we recommit ourselves to the work ahead to end the epidemic. Let's end it. That's the theme globally for World AIDS Day. Let's end isolation, let's end stigma, and let's end HIV transmissions. You have all helped us fight HIV. Now let's end it. At Desert AIDS Project, our commitment includes the bold 90-90-90 goals established by the United Nations. Its purpose is simple yet profound: to end the AIDS epidemic by 2030. This is a global initiative that we work towards locally, focusing on 3 Coachella Valley strategies. First, free and confidential HIV testing gets us to benchmark number 1, which is 90% diagnosed. With your support, in the last 3 years, DAP and our partners have tested 80,000 people for HIV and brought 500 people into care who didn't know they were living with the virus. Access to that medical care gets us to the second benchmark, which is 90% of people on treatment. With your support, 4,200 people currently receive medications and healthcare at DAP. And by and large, our patients are going to live their normal life expectancy and not develop AIDS. Comprehensive health care gets us to the third and final benchmark, 90% virally suppressed. Once we treat and suppress the HIV virus, the individual is no longer infectious. They will not pass the virus. With your fantastic support, we make health happen by providing comprehensive care, all under one roof, minimizing the challenges to remaining well and ending this epidemic. Our goals are 0 new infections, 0 discriminations, and 0 AIDS-related deaths. We can't do it alone, so please join me as I acknowledge tonight's co-chairs, Ann Sheffer, Terry Ketover, and Tom Truhe. And our fantastic sponsors, Bob Mikado and Michael Crick of the Compass Rose Financial Planning and Investment Management, Steve Tobin and Johnny Krupa of the Grace Helen Spearman Foundation, Gilead, Forest Lawn, and the Desert Sun. Also, thank you to our award sponsors tonight, John Evans at Contempo Lending, Mike Williams and Dan George of Canyon Pacific Insurance Services, Willie Ryan, Albert Gonzalez, and John Pascal of 849, and State Farm agents Jim Scheibel and Tim Wills for underwriting the very first Community Good Neighbor Award. And special thanks to Pete Hammond. Thank you all to our generous donors who underwrote this evening, Lulu California Bistro and Barbara and Jerry Keller. Momentous Events and Frank Goldstein. Chris Gill and Cool Party Rentals and Signature Party Rentals. Trick Dog Films and Sanctuary Palm Springs. And Matt Christensen and the Camelot Theater and the Palm Springs Cultural Center. We've got wonderful media partners in the Coachella Valley Independent, Gay Desert Guide, the Standard Magazine, and the Hollywood Times. Last but not least, I'd like to thank the Mayor of Palm Springs, Robert Moon, for being here tonight with all the other elected officials. Tonight, we celebrate the humanitarian in each and every one of us. And we remind ourselves of the difference we make when we all come together for a greater cause. We can't thank you enough. Please give everybody a big round of applause. So let's get on with the show. Please welcome the chairman of the Annenberg Theater Council and a member of Desert AIDS Project's Board of Directors, Mr. Tom Truhe.
Thank you, David. I'd first like to thank the Academy. I've always wanted to say that, I don't know why. I just thank the Academy. Good evening, everyone. And on behalf of my fellow co-chairs, the lovely Terry Ketover and Ann Sheffer, I love those ladies, I'd like to welcome you all to the 4th annual Everyday Heroes celebration, because it is a celebration. I'd also like to welcome and thank our honorary co-chair for the evening, the wonderful producer of not only One Night Only, but on January 18th, Icons and Idols, right over here at the Palm Springs High School, Michael Childers. Thank you, Michael. And Michael, thank you for lending us your little black book, because we chose a couple of your best performers from the book for tonight. It's my honor and distinct pleasure to introduce our host for the evening. When we were considering celebrity host, his award-winning documentary, Get Bruce, came to our mind, and we knew we just had to get Bruce Vilanch. For more than 30 years, Bruce Vilanch was the go-to guy for comedy material for stars from Bette Midler to Whoopi Goldberg, from Billy Crystal to Robin Williams. He wrote for all of them and many, many others. Bruce is a 6-time Emmy Award winner, and for 23 straight years, head writer for the Oscar show telecast. Amazing. He's been a favorite participant of many fundraisers and events right here in the Desert AIDS Project, AIDS Assistance Program, One Night Only, the Jewish Family Service, and the list goes on. Bruce is so much more, though, than just a comedy writer. He's an actor. Think Broadway, think Hairspray, Edna Turnblatt, that was Bruce. He's a songwriter. He's been in numerous films, and he likes to say he was discovered after 20 years in the business on TV's Hollywood Squares. Yeah. Where he was in the box to the left of Whoopi Goldberg, and it's real hard to get to the left of Whoopi Goldberg. She's pretty far left. He also was one of the head writers for that show, the Hollywood Squares. Ladies and gentlemen, in keeping with that theme of the Hollywood Squares, I'd like to take Bruce for the win. Please welcome Bruce Villain.
Yeah, I love doing shows for this charity because this was as I told a reporter recently. Desert Edge Project was here at the beginning, and when nobody would do anything, this is one of the first places because Palm Springs was one of the first places that was heavily affected by the virus. So it's a fabulous that you turn out and that you're honoring these people who, on a daily, 24/7 basis, take care of everybody. Take care of everybody we know who needs it. And they are the real heroes, the everyday heroes. It's the show business stuff gets the news and the noise, but these are the everyday. Bring somebody onto the stage who has become a friend of mine. He is a Broadway baby. He's been, well, he will tell you about it when he is singing to you, but he is, first of all, he's something to look at, which I know is politically incorrect to say in this day and age, but I just did a Kevin Spacey routine, so what do I know? But in addition to that, I mean, he has a tremendous track record. He has done all of those big voiced parts that I will never, ever be able to do, and it haunts my dreams that I can't do them. But he is going to sing for you tonight, and I am delighted to be one to expose him, if that's the word, to you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my new best friend, James Snyder.
Only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. Shall I stay? Would it be a sin if I can't help falling in love with you? Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. Oh, like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Oh, take my hand, take my whole life too, for I can't help falling in love with you. I can't help falling in love with you.
Thank you for having me here. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure. What a day. What a charity. That obviously was Elvis Presley, and my first Broadway show was Cry Baby, based on the John Waters movie. So Bruce and I shared some things in common. Bruce was in Hairspray, which ran for 6 years. I was in Cry Baby, which ran for 6 weeks. So I feel, it's a bond. It's a strong bond. I also had the fortune of this summer doing $1 Million Quartet, which was a blast. I got to play Elvis, a young Elvis, Before that, I was at the Sacramento Music Circus doing Beauty and the Beast, which is just a very unexpected show for me. And to get to play the Beast, when David said that thing about isolation, and what Desert Age Project tries to do. When I was a very young kid, right across the street from us was the Massman family, and Peter Massman was living with AIDS, and this is the early 80s, or mid 80s, I guess, and he has a quilt on the AIDS blanket. And I remember towards the end of his life, he came to live with his parents. And he would make these amazing Christmas, my parents still have it, little Christmas globes, and he would put all of these amazing little toys and stuff in it. And I didn't understand what was going on, but I think about how fortunate he was to have such an amazing family with him. And I think about the people that don't have that don't have that. I'm sorry, I don't know what. And I think this next song from Beauty and the Beast speaks to that, and speaks to wanting that love and wanting that connection, and how fortunate we are to have these people around us that can give that. And in my twisted face, there's not the slightest trace of anything that even hints at kindness. And from my tortured shape, no comfort, no escape. I see, but deep within is utter blindness, hopeless, unforgiven, cold and driven to this sad conclusion. Helpless, unforgiven, cold and driven to this sad conclusion. No beauty could move me, no goodness improve me, no power on earth if I can't love her. No passion could reach me, no lesson could teach me how I could have loved her and make her love me too. If I can't love her, then who? Long ago I should have seen all the things I could have been. Careless and unthinking, I moved no
Please welcome co-chair for this evening's Everyday Heroes Awards and Desert AIDS Project board member, Terry Kettover.
I have to say how exciting this is. 3 of the most talented men that I'm a huge fan of are here: Christopher Marlowe, Bruce Valanche, and James Snyder, who I have loved for years. We are so appreciative to have you here. And Frank, don't get upset, but I have to go off script and say something. The mayor said to me tonight, you know, you can use this line if you want. You're not just saluting everyday heroes. You're saluting people that are heroes every day. And that is really so true. These are not the people that are normally honored. They're not the people whose names you know, but these are people who do so much every day to make this community a better place and do so much for the people who are living with HIV/AIDS. So okay, Frank, I'm on. It's my pleasure to present the first Everyday Hero Award of the evening, sponsored by our friends at 849, to Mr. Art Hall, who I love. Art has been a hero to those living with HIV/AIDS even before Desert AIDS Project was founded. Art would visit the AIDS ward at the hospital and deliver meals to the patients because the personnel were afraid to go in. When there wasn't room in the ward, he opened his home and housed patients there and took care of them. Over time, Art would curate the donated artwork at Desert AIDS Project at our first location and now in our new location. And it really helps to brighten the environment where care is given. For decades, as the owner of First Gallery in Rancho Mirage, Art has done at no charge all of the framing of artwork donated to Desert AIDS Project, as well as to many other charities throughout the valley. He's saved us thousands of dollars, and he's helped us to raise millions of dollars.
Thank everyone for coming this evening. The experience of being honored as an everyday hero has been wonderful. I rode in a convertible in this year's Pride Parade, and we started to drive down Palm Canyon. I heard people yelling my name and cheering. The experience was so massive that I froze. George Sinatra was driving the car, and he said, "Art, just wave, just smile, wave." It broke the ice, and I was able to relax and really enjoy the experience. I remember the day in my gallery when a customer said, "Congratulations on winning, Art." I was waiting on another customer as he was leaving when he said it. I didn't know what he meant. Had I brought a lottery ticket? The team from the Desert AIDS Project came into my gallery and told me a couple of days later that I had been chosen and honored as an everyday hero. It was such a shock. I'm grateful, and it has made me think of all the people I know who are so much more deserving of an award than I am. There are so many local people who inspire me, starting with Rick and Roseanne Supple, who own this beautiful theater and do so much for our community without asking for acknowledgement. There are many other heroes in this community. People who give and give inspire me to do my best. These people include Barbara and Jerry Keller, Howard Matzner, Helene Galen, Steve Coffer, Terry Ketchover, Kay Ballard, Gavin McLeod, and Lucy Arnez. And of course, my wonderful friends, Sid Craig, Willie Ryan, and Jerry Erickson. Many of you know the name of Steve Chase, who was my friend, and I worked with him. But before Steve Chase, I worked with Bill Smith, a retired psychiatrist who started the first Desert AIDS Project. The Desert AIDS Project has helped so many people since those first fear-filled years. Today is World AIDS Day, so it feels right to recall what it was like before Desert AIDS Project. I'm very proud that I and many others got involved with AIDS before there was a DAP. In this day, I do remember exactly how we got started. I can't, but I remember thinking the world wasn't ready for AIDS. People were acting crazy. The fear was so great, no one was informed. People with AIDS were losing their jobs, they were losing their homes. We moved 6 people with AIDS into my house. The hardest time of my life was calling the ambulance and saying goodbye when someone died. I remember that there was a man who owned a motel. He was about to lose the motel because of financial reasons, but he had 6 months left as an owner. He offered to let people with AIDS live and move into the motel, and was picketed by a couple of society ladies who said their children shouldn't have to walk past people with AIDS on their way to school. Some of you may remember the fear that was so great, and food handlers in the hospital would leave trays outside patients' room. They were too afraid to enter the room, so a group of us got together and each person took a night to deliver the meals, to sit with AIDS patients, to start to fill in for the friend of mine and nurses that were so grateful that we were there. They were simply overworked. Nobody was ready for AIDS. On this World AIDS Day, it is important to note that the Coachella Valley has the best AIDS service organization in the world. I honestly feel that way. We can be so proud of how far we've come, and we can't relax yet. AIDS is not over. Let's end it together.
Welcome, co-chair for this evening's Everyday Heroes Awards and Desert AIDS Project board member, Ann Sheffer.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to present the next Everyday Heroes Award, sponsored by John Evans and Contempo Lending, to one of the most generous, caring, and self-effacing women that I know, Lynn Hammond. In fact, you may not realize it, but you've likely been at many charitable events where the delicious food you were enjoying was catered by Lynn, but she was working away behind the scenes in the kitchen. What you may not also have known is that the food and beverage, along with her time, was generously donated. She has saved Desert AIDS Project, the National Center for Lesbian Rights, the Human Rights Campaign, and many, many other organizations, hundreds of thousands of dollars in catering expenses. And don't worry, we wouldn't let her do it tonight. You're also likely to see donated catering packages from Lynn at a myriad of silent auctions, be it the Steve Chase Humanitarian Awards or the HRC Garden Party, which she has co-chaired for the last 2 years. It's just another way that she supports the organizations she cares about, and she gives generously of her time as well. She's HRC's newest member of the Board of Governors, and for the last couple of years, she has also served on the Desert AIDS Project's Partners for Life Leadership Committee. Please join me now in welcoming to the stage the deliciously generous everyday hero, Lynn Hammond.
Thank you. And like everyone else at the stage of honorees before us, I don't feel like a hero. I was brought up to know that we were lucky, we were blessed. My parents were very comfortable, and we had a very lovely lifestyle. But there was a responsibility to that. My siblings and I were taught to give back at whatever level we could, not only by writing a check, but by giving our time. My father, who many of you know, is here tonight, and after he retired, he'd heard that my brother's school was in need of a bus driver. Shortly thereafter, and for a couple of years, my dad drove a yellow school bus to games, to other school events. That's what we were taught, and that's what we did. When I moved to Palm Springs 18 years ago, I relied upon a few friends here that I had to introduce me around to social circles that were sometimes complete, and it was a challenge to break into people's groups, so I started volunteering to keep busy and to meet people. It was a great way to connect in the community, and while worthwhile, was not totally rewarding. My friends Brad White and Andy Linsky had introduced me to HRC, and I had begun some catering for them. These were larger events, sometimes with a limited budget, challenging, but always rewarding. About 5 years ago, I received a phone call from Jeff Coors. I knew Jeff and his husband James from San Francisco and had met them around at Palm Springs and even done a party or two for them. Jeff asked if I would send a proposal for an event for the National Center for Lesbian Rights that was to be held at their home. I had actually thought about buying a ticket to this event as they were honoring Chris Cluey, a football player, and because of his stance on gay rights and same-sex marriage, he had been blacklisted. As a major football fan, go Patriots, I had great interest in seeing Chris, but at a lesbian event, I decided what the heck, I would offer to provide the food for free, go to the event, have a great time. Jeff and NCLR were tremendously grateful, and with some creative event planning, they were able to have the event 100% underwritten. I felt a rush of adrenaline like rarely before. I found my happy spot. I now require my staff to volunteer for 2 events a year. A couple of years ago, a friend was asking for some donations for the homeless camp of refugees. I wasn't in town at the time, so I asked an employee to buy $100 worth of kids' clothes, and I would pay him back. I got attitude. He was busy, blah, blah, blah. He did it anyway. We all know who that is. The next day, I'm going to pay for that, I know. The next day, I received an email from him, grateful to have had the opportunity to see that his life wasn't as bad as he felt it was that day. And he wanted to donate $50 of his own money to me for the charity. He was doing something for someone else and who was in a worse place than he was. He's now volunteers for Sanctuary and loves his work there. He gets the value of philanthropy at any level. Not all of us have great wealth to write the kinds of checks that keep charities like DAP afloat, but we live in this little village and we all have the time to make a difference and to see the organizations flourish and know that you had a little part in it. Well, that warms my soul. Again, thank you.
Please welcome the Chief Development Officer of Desert AIDS Project, Daryl Tucci.
Good evening. I'm very excited to be here tonight to present Matt Stoker and Tom Oliver with an Everyday Hero Award. The award sponsored by Canyon Pacific Insurance Services. In their case, the word everyday should be emphasized. Or maybe it should be multiple times per day hero award, as it's not unusual to see them volunteering their time at multiple events in a day or even in one evening. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I attended an event for Sanctuary where they were volunteer servers. I left that event for another with our congressman where they were assisting with check-in. And yet later that evening, they were greeting guests with their bright smiles and cheer at yet a third charity event. I don't know how they do it, except from getting to know them, I can only imagine the energy is derived from their deep passion for justice, equality, and a vibrant community. They have registered, checked in event guests, served appetizers, largely from Lynn Hammond, poured drinks, simply greeted probably tens of thousands of people at events for Desert AIDS Project, the LGBT Community Center, Sanctuary Palm Springs, and many more in the few short years they've lived here. But even before moving here, Matt was involved in HIV and AIDS work in San Francisco, where he was actively engaged in PAWS. Pets are wonderful support, providing comprehensive needs of companion animals for low-income individuals living with HIV. And he was also involved in an AIDS-specific residential care facility that serves now as an international model of care. Please join me in welcoming the amazingly energetic, everyday heroes, Matt Stoker and Tom Oliver.
Thank you all for being here. We are deeply humbled and honored to be receiving this incredible Community Service Award tonight.
When Daryl Tucci called and said he had something to discuss with me, I immediately thought, he wants money. I was in shock. I was in shock and immediately humbled when he said we were nominated for this award.
As Joanne Morford said last year, when she accepted her award, I don't deserve this. I want to be out there with you guys, helping and greeting people. Well, we also want to share this award with every volunteer we have ever worked with. We each deserve this award because together we make a difference. Together, we are a family. Would each of you who volunteer in our community please stand? Please applaud these volunteers to show your appreciation for their commitment to our community.
We also want to acknowledge the volunteer coordinators who get us all together where we need to be with smiles on our faces and ready to do whatever it takes to make the event a success. They work tirelessly behind the scenes on weekends and with countless emails to organize the fundraisers and events that help support the many wonderful nonprofits of the Coachella Valley, which we are all so proud to support. Please give them applause as they are also everyday heroes.
As well, we want to honor the people we are sharing the stage with tonight. Art Hall, Lynn Hammond, and Keith and I can't say their names yet because you haven't seen them. I think you already know. And the other past recipients of this distinguished award. It's an honor to be recognized as part of this family and this community. This award is particularly meaningful today because it's World AIDS Day. Matthew and I are HIV positive and have been for over 30 years each. Wow. Unlike other families, when my parents learned that I was HIV positive, they created a support network for me. They defended me against our own church and against some of my own family members. And they championed me to live and be the person I am today. And I'm sorry, Frank, I am going to go off script. So the people who made me be altruistic or aim to be altruistic are my mother and my father. And they taught me to give back.
We are both deeply appreciative of the amazing care we receive at the DAP Healthcare Center. If it were not for Dr. Phyllis Ritchie and her team, we would not be here today.
My most powerful ally now is my partner, Matthew. We live, we love, and we volunteer together in the community which nurtures and supports us. It is in this service that we live and love others, regardless of the accolades and the recognition. To give is to live. I could not imagine my life not being the other half of this wonderful man. Together,
we will continue to help to maintain our community as a safe and happy place for everyone.
Supposed to say the LGBTQIAABCD.
Please welcome to the stage one of our Valley's greatest talents and treasures, the incredibly lovely Lucy Arnaz.
Thank you very much. What an inspiring evening. Isn't it just incredible what this town is doing, what these people do? I've cried so many times. But it's my great pleasure to join you tonight to introduce two wonderful gents, the sponsors of the State Farm Good Neighbor Award, Tim Wood and Jim Scheibel. Together, a little more than a year ago, they launched a small business here in the Coachella Valley. Tim Wood, State Farm, a full-service insurance agency located in Cathedral City. And from the very beginning, it was of paramount importance for both Tim and Jim that this be truly a community-based business. So they made a commitment to each other that a portion of all of their successes would always go to supporting a variety of community-based organizations. Jim and Tim are incredibly proud of their community relationships. Their current nonprofit partners include Cathedral City Senior Center, Find Food Bank, Center of the Desert, CV Rep, AAP Food Samaritans, the Harvey Milk Breakfast, the United Way of the Desert, Palm Springs Pride, and of course, Desert AIDS Project. Jim and Tim, yes, you can applaud all of that. That's a lot of balls in the air. Jim and Tim have a really deep history, of course, of support with Desert AIDS, including Tim's role on the Partners for Life Leadership Committee, supporting the Desert AIDS Walk, serving also as the presenting sponsor for Dinner at My Place, and now bringing this Good Neighbor Award to Everyday Heroes. So what makes a good neighbor, you might ask? Turn your attention to the screen, as if you could not see the screen.
A good neighbor is one who sees a need and is right there to address it.
A good neighbor is somebody that brings you soup when you're sick.
To me, a good neighbor is an ordinary person who does extraordinary things.
Someone who walks your dog when you don't have the energy to, and to even take your kids to volleyball when your mom forgets.
A good neighbor is someone who does something not looking for recognition.
A good neighbor is somebody that you always can depend on.
A good neighbor, I think, is someone who's going to be very caring. A good neighbor is someone who cares about what's going on in the community.
A good neighbor is someone who is nice.
A good neighbor is somebody who is there when things don't go right. They're there to help life go right.
What the good neighbors have all had in common that I've known is the ability to know who and what. Who is in need and what their need is.
This community really exemplifies what a good neighbor is. There are so many people here who are active and involved and really care about making it a better place for all of us to live.
welcoming two fabulous neighbors to all of us, Tim Wood and Jim Scheibel.
Wow, what an amazing turnout. I'm not sure how Keith Cornell's going to get around to do a selfie with everyone, but I'm sure he's going to try. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Scheibel, and this is my husband, Tim Wood. We are proud owners of a State Farm insurance agency here in the Coachella Valley. Now, I know what you're likely thinking. How glamorous it must be to work in insurance, or what a rush you get when you indemnify or subrogate. The truth is, when you're married to the Phil Dunphy of insurance here, every day is pure bliss. Tim and I are so incredibly proud and honored to be presenting the inaugural Tim Wood State Farm Good Neighbor Award tonight. I know that when some of you think about certain neighbors that you have, you may not necessarily get warm and fuzzy feelings. I think we've all had neighbors who have rubbed us the wrong ways. Y'all know the ones I'm talking about. The ones who you want to yell, like a good neighbor, stay over there. That is why it's so important that we take time to stop and celebrate special people who do amazing work in our own community, like these incredible deserving individuals tonight. When Daryl and DAP approached us about the potential of being included in the Everyday Hero Awards, we jumped at the chance. Clearly, this is aligned with State Farm's corporate philosophy, but more importantly, for Tim and I, it's congruent with the priorities we believe in. Priorities like being part of a community, making a difference, extending yourself for the needs of others. Tim and I try to live those values each and every day and are so pleased to be connected to this award. Tonight, we have incredibly special recipients of the inaugural Everyday Heroes Good Neighbor Award. Keith and his mother, Cheryl Markovitz, a mother and son whose long history of generosity and kindness are helping to change lives in the Coachella Valley. "20 years ago, Keith Markovitz met his husband, Dave Locke, and moved to Palm Springs. Unbeknownst to many, Keith was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia in 2005. This diagnosis and his subsequent treatment and recovery had a significant impact on Keith and changed the way he looked at life. At his most vulnerable, Keith witnessed people who were selflessly working on the behalf of others and made a commitment to himself that he would dedicate a portion of his life to giving back any way that he could. Keith and his family's contribution to the AIDS Walk has become legendary. In saying that, Keith has also been involved in many other charities and community groups. Keith's passion for architecture and design led him to a 5-year term on the Palm Springs Museum Architecture and Design Board. And for the past 9 years, Keith has been a tour guide for Modernism Week. He and his husband, Dave, are also enthusiastic supporters of Desert X. Keith has also sat on the board of AIDS Assistance Program, now known as AAP Food Samaritans. Keith considers his time on the AAP board as truly transformational and credits Mark Anton not only as a mentor, but someone who taught him the value of selfless giving. In addition to all of this, Keith is a proud and passionate supporter of Digicom. Digicom is the brainchild of our friend, David Vogel, whose vision of inspiring at-risk youth through video, filmmaking, and multimedia is changing lives of marginalized kids throughout the Coachella Valley. Keith is an enthusiastic ambassador of Palm Springs. In his words, "I love Palm Springs and the life it has given me and my entire family. Its success and the happiness of the people here are everything to me. It is why I feel so strongly about giving back to this extraordinary community."
Cheryl Markovitz is originally from Western Pennsylvania. She married and became a mother at the tender age of 21. Of all she has accomplished in her life, she is most proud of the 2 young men that are her sons, Keith and Derek. While Cheryl has been active in the local Humane Society Hospital and Symphony Auxiliaries, her true passion has always been horses. She has been a dedicated rider her entire life. Cheryl's passion leads her to routinely rescue horses from the kill pens, retrain them, and give them a new lease on life. Cheryl's life took a challenging and meaningful turn when her brother Dale was diagnosed with HIV/AIDS in the late 80s. Cheryl became Dale's caregiver until his death in 1995. She witnessed the harsh reality of how devastating this disease is, not only for the patient, but for the family as well. Being a caregiver gave Cheryl a perspective that can only be realized when experienced firsthand. Professionally, Cheryl was a partner in a heavy-duty equipment company near Baltimore for many years. Cheryl was not one to shy away from hard work and could routinely be found operating a backhoe or a bulldozer. After Keith's leukemia diagnosis in 2005, Cheryl immediately moved to care for him and support him. During the year, she fell in love with Palm Springs and decided to make this her full-time home. Her younger son, Derek, soon followed. Cheryl has been blessed with a fabulous son-in-law, Dave, and an amazing daughter-in-law, Rachel. The family was further blessed when Rachel and Derek's son, Jet Ellis, was born in 2016. Continuing the family tradition, Cheryl's 90-year-old mother, Leona, made the move to Palm Springs in 2013. In 2008, Keith suggested that the Markovitz family participate in fundraising for the Desert AIDS Walk in memory of their uncle and brother, a chance to honor Dale's battle with the disease. Having witnessed both the physical and mental realities of what an AIDS patient has to deal with, the choice was clear and easy. In the past 9 years, the remarkable Markovitz family has raised literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for HIV research, education, and programming. This is a family who truly exemplifies what being a good neighbor is. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you now to give a warm round of applause to the inaugural recipients of the State Farm Everyday Heroes Good Neighbor Award, Keith and Cheryl Markovitz.
Wow, so for those of you that know me, I have to say doing this on top of a double-decker tour bus rolling down Palm Canyon is way easier. There's no comparison. Well, good evening, everyone. Mom and I especially wanted to extend our thank you tonight to the sponsors of this award, Tim Wood and Jim Scheibel. Thank you, gentlemen. We also want to acknowledge David Brinkman, Daryl Tucci, and the rest of the great team at DAP, and of course, the incredible amount of volunteers that make all of these things possible. I mean, the volunteers in this city make everything happen. Thank you. We'd like to also congratulate, of course, Lynn Hammond, Art Hall, Matthew Stoker, and Tom Oliver, whose dedication to our community is what being an everyday hero is all about. Finally, we are grateful to every person, every single one of you here this evening, for we know that without your support, our dream of living in a world without AIDS cannot possibly come true. Harvey Milk once said, "Hope is never silent." And my mother and I are proud to stand up and let the world know that we are certainly not going to be silent. We are proud to live in our beautiful Palm Springs, and the biggest reason why we love it here is ours is a community where people of diverse backgrounds can live together, respect one another, and continue to work towards a better life. Like you, Mom and I want to live to see that world without AIDS. We want to share in the joy that they will bring all over the world, and we want to savor a victory like none other. In the meantime, we have you, we have each other, and yes, we have hope. So thank you, and good night.
Please welcome back to the stage, the handsome and charming James Snyder.
And a big thank you to everyone here, especially Tom Truey and Michael Childers, Christopher Marlowe, of course, on the piano. His last job, actually, on Broadway was in playing for Beauty and the Beast. And I guess never again once he played that. No, he ended up going on to work with Nancy Lamont and having an amazing career there, and among other things. This next song is from the show All American, written by a young Melvin Brooks. Right, Melvin? Melvin. But I think it's just one of the most beautiful songs. Once upon a time, a girl with moonlight in her eyes held her hand in mine and said she loved me so. But that was once upon a time, very long ago. Once upon a hill we sat beneath a willow tree, counting all the stars, how happy we were there. But that was once upon a time, now the dream is gone. How the breeze ruffled through her hair, how we always laughed as though tomorrow wasn't there. We were young and didn't have a care. Where did it go? Once upon a time, the world was sweeter than we knew. Everything was ours, how happy we were there. But somehow, once upon a time, never comes again. How the breeze ruffled through her hair, how we always laughed as though tomorrow wasn't there. We were young and didn't have a care. Where did it go? Once upon a time, the world was sweeter than we knew. Everything was ours, how happy we were then. But somehow, once upon a time, never comes This next song is from a musical Ever After, based, which I did at the Paper Mill Playhouse right after I finished. This Paper Mill Playhouse. Right after I finished a good 3 years working on If Then the Musical opposite Idina Menzel. It's a retelling, it's based on the movie, which is a retelling of Cinderella set in France during the Renaissance. And in it, young Prince Henry meets a girl, Cinderella. Danielle is her name in the show. And she changes his life forever. She opens his world up to things he never knew, things he never thought of. And because of that, it makes him a better leader. It makes him a better person. It makes him a better human being. And so this song is called Right Before My Eyes. All my life my head's been filled with questions. Who exactly am I meant to be? How does one begin to build a country? How to shoulder all this destiny? What's the thing that makes a life worth living? Why, in fact, is everybody here? What is right and wrong? Then you came along, and suddenly the mysteries are clear.
There's a smile to be a king for, right before my eyes. There's a hand I long to hold. There's a heart I long to conquer. There's a hand I long to hold. There's a feeling I might spend my lifetime loving, growing old. I have come here all my life with 100,000 questions. Now the questions come, but only one applies. Fate was listening indeed. All the answers that I need are here and real and right before my eyes. For the first time, I believe I'm worth the path my life may take. For the first time, I believe that one can dream while wide awake. For the first time, I'll embrace the choice that history has made. What the future holds, I'll face it unafraid. Perhaps a bit afraid. But right before my eyes, there's just someone to believe in. I can't help but hope maybe she believes in me. There's a girl to build a dream with, funny, honest, full of pride. There's a feeling I might spend my lifetime standing by her side. I have come here all my life with 100,000 questions. Now the answer comes, but only one applies. Fate was listening above, for I found in the love that's here and real and right before my
Thank you all for joining us this evening to mark World AIDS Day and to celebrate our everyday heroes who have done so much in the fight against HIV and AIDS. See you all out front, and thank you guys for this fantastic celebration honoring the heroes of this beautiful community. Have a great evening.